converted man. Here. Hello. William Lane Craig is evil. Thanks for watching, everybody. Okay, good night. No, okay. All right. Everyone's done this video. Everyone has said something about this video. Except for me. I haven't said something about the video, so I need to say something. Even though it's all been said, and said probably better than I could say it. Dark Matter's covered it. B.S. Lewis has covered it. Somebody else has covered it. Everyone just about covered the video. What video? Oh yeah, the video, or William Lane Craig interviewed by this guy Alex, and why are you defending genocide? Oh well, let me explain why I'm defending genocide. William Lane Craig then goes on to explain why he's defending genocide, and he's like, well, it's not really genocide. I mean, come on. It's like slavery in the Bible. It's not really slavery. It's a different version of slavery. And he says just some wonderfully, terribly evil things that are extraordinarily quotable. And all of this is extremely relevant in regards to the video that I'll look at next by that guy that I already had an interaction with, where he justifies God allowing evil. This theoretical physicist named Steven Weinberg once said something I think that is rather profound. With or without religion, good people can behave well and bad people can do evil. But for good people to do evil, that takes religion. I agree. A good person told that the God of the everything, the universe, reality, has commanded you to do this thing, then you do it. Because God, you've been told, is good. So that order coming from God has to be good. And you have to follow it. Maybe it doesn't seem like it's good to you. But God, well, it has some reason. It, some motive, something that you don't know, that what seems evil now has a good consequence later on, and you don't know. But of course, you really don't know that it's coming from God, do you? No, you've been told that it's coming from God by the leader that says, oh yeah, God told me to tell you to do this. Or maybe you are the leader, and one day you're meditating and you're praying and you're in your hot tent getting sweaty, trying have a spiritual experience. Oh, your brain fries and you're like, click. Oh, those people that are in the land that we want, oh, we have to kill them. And that was from God. That wasn't me. I don't want to kill them. Oh, yeah, that was totally God just now that popped in my head. And then you tell everybody that God told you to kill these people, and nobody questions it because it's from God. And that is one of the problems with divine command theory, which I've covered before in my video DCT and other videos I've done. I've talked about divine command theory and its problems as an ethical system. Every other ethical system allows you to question the ideas that it possesses. Every other ethical system allows you to say, is that a good idea or not? Now, I like utilitarian ethics. There's problems with it. Absolutely. It's very simple. That's why I like it. It's easy to remember. The least harm to the least amount, and the most good for the most amount. Okay, so does that mean you kill the one person over the 5 people? Yes, probably, all things being equal, if you have to kill some amount of people, less is better than more, but it changes depending on who the people are and all sorts of factors that go into that. But you want to reduce the harm that you do to not just people, but to all the things, all living creatures, maybe even the environment itself that isn't necessarily living, but the littlest amount of harm possible is what you want to cause. And then the most amount of good possible is what you want to encourage. And that's a careful balance, and goodness knows if you're going to get it right. And you're allowed to question every single choice and decision that you make to get to that goal. But not in DCT. You're told, do this thing, and you do it. Or you're told, don't do this thing, you don't do it. There's 613 commands in the Bible. And many of them are about don't have sex outside of marriage. You're supposed to keep sex within marriage, and that's that. Now, how old of a gal can a guy marry? Bible doesn't say. What are we not doing? We are not killing anybody here today. We are discouraging genocide. That's what we are not doing. We are encouraging genocide. What we are not doing is genocide. Yeah, there you go. So is killing justified, or is torture justified? Under utilitarianism, no. Because you're not doing good, you're creating harm. And there's something else that you probably could do to get to the goal that you want. So yeah, within the 613 laws, you might be familiar with one of them that's don't wear mixed fabrics. Yeah, that's in there. It's one of many. That seems rather silly that God would care about what clothing you wear, but God's really concerned with who you can marry. You can't marry a guy if you're a guy, although it doesn't really say if you can marry a girl if you're a girl, but it's kind of like we guess that that's probably not allowed. And the whole thing's, well, let's promote having children. Okay, that's fine, but you're saying don't have sex outside of marriage because, well, we're trying to promote that system of unity and all this. But yeah, but their punishment is stoning to death the person that does it. That doesn't seem like a very nice punishment. And the idea that that would come from God is not one that I can just agree with. I don't know how a loving being could want somebody else to kill someone in such a horrific fashion. Stoning to death takes time to do. A person gets pelted by stones by multiple people until they're dead. It's a terrible, horrible, awful way to do things. But that is the punishment for almost every single command of the 613 commands. And one says, oh, well, but in the New Testament, Jesus did away with all that. Well, kind of, but maybe not, because Jesus says none of the laws are passed away. Then, of course, later Jesus says all the laws don't matter because they're replaced by a new law, which is do to others as you do unto yourself. Oh, it's so nice we have that one law now. But of course, Christians still reference 10 commandments, even though there should only be one commandment now, right? So which is it? If you want the first 10 commandments, you're going to take all 613 with them, or you're just going to do the one commandment. But of course, the golden rule isn't really worded perfectly either, and it's not unique to Christianity. It's been around a while, so it doesn't seem like that's spectacular, but obviously God is immune from following the golden rule because you can't kill God. So if God tells you to kill someone, you kill someone because it's God. How dare you question what God wants? And that's the story of Abraham. Go kill your son. Okay. So he goes to kill his son. Just kidding. You don't have to kill your son after all. Oh, wasn't that nice? But see, it's about obedience, blind obedience to the authority. The actual better moral story would be Abraham's told to kill his kid, and he says, "No, I'm not going to do it. You can kill me. You can do whatever you want to me. You can kill me yourself. Whatever. I'm God. Look, you're God, but it's wrong to kill." And then God would say, "You passed the test." That would be a much better moral in my book. That's not what we get. What we get is writings that apologists must attempt to justify with a lot of fancy wordplay. And it's sickening. It really is. To me, it is offensive and demeaning and pure evil in my book, in my view. Under DCT, completely permitted. Of course, that means that anybody that claims DCT could claim anything is permitted. Our God said to kill everybody that's not part of our religion. Okay, well, I guess you have to do that then. Our God said to, whatever it is, then you do it. Our God said to never eat whatever. We're not allowed. That's it. We just don't do it. We don't drink alcohol because our God's against it. Or what? It's like, okay, there's nothing wrong with not drinking alcohol. That's okay. That's good to some level. But it's like, you're not allowed because you're not allowed to question it. Even a little bit. Like, what if it's medicinal? What if it's needed for some surgery or some medication? Nope, not allowed. Okay, And like blood transfusion is disallowed by, I want to say Jehovah's Witnesses, but it might be Mormons. I don't remember. It's easy to get the mix up, or Latter-day, I don't know, whatever those people. So they don't do blood transfusions. And thus, a lot of them have died because of that. Well, that's okay, because God said not to do it in their book, in their view, in their idea. So, ethics. There's several different ethical systems out there available beyond just utilitarianism. And they're all, something that you could study if you wanted to. I'll just list them out. It's a very simple list. I'll give a link to where you can see that list if you want to look at it. It has more information about it. Utilitarianism, deontology, virtue ethics, ethics of care, egoism, DCT, natural law, social contract theory, Rawls theory of justice, and moral relativism, and of course some have attempted, secularism as a ethical system. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. Well, I'd say I don't know what the strength of DCT is. I only know what its weaknesses are. So I don't know that DCT has any actual strength to offer you, other than, well, you're just right by fiat. You're right because, they said you were right. God said that this is the thing to do or not to do, and that's it. That settles the matter. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You don't do it. Period. End of story. Now, what's fun about that is, of course, the loopholes. And there are major loopholes. Don't murder. You go, okay, well, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, sure. But murder is only possible if you outlaw certain types of killing. So, well, murder's permissible if you go to war because it's not murder. When it's wartime and you kill somebody, you did so because that was your duty and it's not considered a murder. When a police officer has to shoot somebody and kills them, unless there were reasons to call it murder, it's not called murder. It's a legal defense of themselves or others. You know, when you stand your ground, there's stand your ground laws like in Texas and whatnot, where somebody breaks in, if you have a weapon, you kill them. You killed them. You didn't murder them. So it's legal. Now, of course, you're still going to probably have to go to court, but it's, you know, it's legal. So it's not morally wrong to kill. It's only morally wrong the moment that we make it a law and call it murder. So that's an interesting loophole, because guess what? Humans can then say, well, there are no laws regarding killing. Kill whoever you want, feel like, I don't know. Now, I personally don't feel like, well, okay, I better not say I don't feel like killing anyone, because that's not true. You know, but I don't know that I'd actually do it. Feeling it is one thing. Doing it's a whole nother thing. But I wouldn't want it legal to just kill willy-nilly, because I'd be kind of scared that somebody might take me out, because, you know, I've said a lot of things. Conversely, everybody else would maybe be afraid that they'd be taken out, and so the law of not killing each other is a decent law to have, because it prevents goodness knows how many people from killing who otherwise would. They know the consequence for doing it is losing their freedom and possibly their life if they have the death penalty in that state. I don't care for the death penalty, but that's a different story. Nonetheless, all of this matters, in that the next video I will cover, it's a very short video from the guy already, you know, Jim Bob guy, where he, you know, does the moral argument. Why does God allow evil? And without even watching his video, I already know what the arguments are going to be, or what the arguments might be. And they'll be the same as every other apologist. God has some reason for it that you just don't know, or it might be, well, you can't really say that it's evil unless you have good, and you can't have good without God, or that evil is an absence of good, or some sort of justification that allows a good being to permit evil to happen. There will always be some justification, because the whole problem of evil is you're told there's a nice, loving being that cares about us, and also on top of that, it wants to get to know us. It wants us to love it. And also, it has immense power. What do you mean by power? It has the ability to do anything. Anything at all. Wow. Anything? Yes. Anything at all that's logically possible. But still, anything. So it's like a giant superhuman Superman type of being. Right. Okay. Now, Superman, comic book character, been on TV, been in movies, you know. Superman flies, and he flies really, really fast, and he can, you know, bullets can't hurt him, and he can be hurt by kryptonite, but whatever, you know. But he's immune. He can rescue people from harm fairly easily. Now, he's still just one guy, but he can do things normal humans couldn't do. So you're falling down. Superman, help! Boom, he jumps out of nowhere and catches you and cushions your fall. Of course, they never really do that right in the movies or comics, you know, because, you know, they don't account for physics. But, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter, because it's a story, right? Like, maybe the abilities of Superman, like, are kind of like they transfer to you the moment you touch him, at least enough to keep you from dying when he catches you when you're falling or something. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. So you have a super being that's everywhere all at the same time and could easily stop evil from happening, but chooses not to. So it's like you have Superman, and he sees that there's a tsunami coming. He could rescue a whole bunch of people. Maybe he can't rescue every single person, but he can rescue a lot of them. But he sits there and he does nothing. He goes, they got free will. Well, what am I supposed to do about it? Free will. If I stop it, then I negate their free will. As if that would make sense. So Superman's an asshole. He's not helping anybody. He's like, oh no, but I love people. But you didn't save anyone. Well, yeah, because I love them so much that I didn't want to stop them from saving themselves. And maybe encountering that evil was good for them. I don't know. I mean, maybe. And besides, I'm Superman. I knew what those people were going to do. I actually went to the future. I saw that they were going to do really bad things. So they needed to die anyways. Wow. So doing nothing is absolutely justified if you know everything. So what good is God then if God doesn't do anything? If God just lets evil happen, what good is God? But it's even worse because God outright commands humans to do what we would otherwise consider to be evil, vile, repugnant actions. And here is good old William Lane Craig, sweater wearing, oh, look at me, I'm so nice, I'm such a loving person, here I am to defend fucking genocide. Go ahead. Fuck you, William Lane Craig.
The land of Canaan, or modern day Israel, was populated by small clans of Canaanite inhabitants. And according to the biblical narrative, these clans of Canaanites were extremely evil.
Okay, so according to the book written by the victors of the war, these people were really evil. Oh, wow. Amazing how that works. I can't. Wow. Now, we don't need to pretend. We can look at American history to know how we viewed our rivals. Political cartoons during wartime and how they depicted people. For example, we can see that a blatant racism on display. And I'm just going to show one example because I don't want to do too much. Here's Dr. Seuss, depicting. Well, who do you think he's depicting here? I mean, who are we at war with? So yeah, China, right? Or Japanese, Chinese people, right? So we're going to battle with them. So it's absolutely fine to depict them in a very silly, stereotypical way. Here they're all getting TNT. They're off to go blow up stuff. Ha 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 ha. Oh, they're so evil, and we need to, So we demonize the people who we think are the enemies. 9/11 happened. If you were, where you were. If you were there, if you were alive when it happened, you probably know where you were and what you were doing when it happened, because it's that sort of event. And Muslims were. There was a concern that Muslims would be targeted for hate crimes. That didn't happen. I'm sure that some Muslims got some flack from people, but generally, broadly speaking, Americans knew those Muslims here, they weren't to blame. We knew that they were out there. Now, the president pointed at the wrong Muslims, and everybody was like, okay, we don't know anything. We don't know any better. Yeah, we'll go after those Muslims, whatever. That wasn't the right group to go after. They didn't do it, but whatever. Eventually, we killed the people that did it. I hope. I think. It captured some of them, killed a lot of them. I don't know. It's hard to say. But, yeah, eventually we got around to it. But we didn't start by going directly after the people that told the people to go do these terrible things. Well, they wound up killing themselves, but the leaders are still alive. So isn't that rather convenient for the leaders? So, of course, from the people that launched the attack against the Americans, they're going to say, oh, those Americans are evil and vile and terrible people. They're immoral. Look at what they allow, this, that. They allow this to happen. They allow gay marriage, or they allow this and that. They allow their women to go around without covering, and all that sort of stuff. And so they're evil, they're vile, etc. Of course, your enemy is going to do that. Of course they are. We did it with the Japanese, we did it with Chinese, we did it with the Koreans, we did it with whoever we are against. Whenever we're against anybody, your first step is dehumanize the other. It makes it easier to kill them, makes it easier to justify whatever you're going to do to them. The Nazis knew how to do this really well. They demonized non-Germans, and they convinced the Germans that their problems stemmed from the non-Germans. Your problems are coming from this thing. We've got the solution, the final solution to this problem. And once we deal with the problem, we won't have any problems. Of course, it's not really where the problem is coming from. The problem is far more complex, and it's not coming from those people. But it doesn't matter. You sold people on the idea that there's a problem, and then you sell them the cure for that problem. Sounds a lot like Christianity to me. Here's the problem called sin. The solution is Jesus. Or in the Old Testament, the problem of sin, and the solution is follow God. And so here we have the winners of the battle saying, oh, those Canaanites, yeah, they were super mega evil. Okay, I don't know that they were. And you know what? I don't care even if they were super mega evil. I'm going to pretend, for sake of argument, that the Canaanites were all Nazis, that these are Nazi-ites. And still, I'm going to say genocide's wrong. I'm still going to say it because it is wrong. It's like, well, but they're all Nazis, Deacon, man. Nazis are bad. Yeah, but doing something bad doesn't make it good. Wiping out all, it's like, did we wipe out all the Nazis? No. We wiped out enough of them to stop them. And we imprisoned those who we could imprison. And we brought to justice those people. They got to stand trial. It would have been ideal to have captured Hitler and had him stand trial for all the war crimes. Maybe he would have been put to death. But that's better than just wiping them all out. Well, they're wiping them out, so we'll wipe them out. That's, if it's wrong for them, it's wrong for us. Well, that means that we're going to have significant loss of life. Yeah, it will mean that. But you know what? The price of doing what's good is sacrifice sometimes. And so we humans haven't seemed to learn that lesson. They're still fighting, back and forth, Israel and, Gaza fighting over, well, you guys killed some of our people. Now we're killing a whole bunch of yours. They're killing too much of ours. You need to stop now. Yeah, but you haven't surrendered yet, so we can't. We got to make a point, that nobody's allowed to mess with us, and that's what we're doing. And until you give up, until whoever it is gives up, we're going to keep going. And, it's just an endless war over what? Dirt. Over freaking where you live, or how you live, or who's in charge, or, well, of course, for them, it's this little tiny speck of land that's holy and was promised to us by God. No, we actually, God promised that to us. The Christians think that, the Jewish think that, the Muslims think that, everybody think it's their spot that God gave to them. And, well, there's no way to resolve that. Anyways, back to William Lane Craig being evil.
They were debauched morally and opposed God. And God let this go on for 400 years while Israel was in Egypt. But then he called Israel out of Egypt and led them to the land of Canaan and delivered the land over to Israel and said,
all right, so, of course, whether or not they were actually ever captives of Egypt is debated historically. Maybe some were, but not all. This is another thing that the problem is, you would think that there would be some Egyptian records of having slaves that were Jewish. They have records that they had slaves, I think, but they also, they had a lot of paid labor. So, and it doesn't say who necessarily they had. So unless you had something that's like, we have X amount of Jewish slaves, you wouldn't have any way to really prove that they had slaves. If the Jewish people say we were slaves of them, well, maybe they were, but maybe they weren't. Maybe they're saying that to justify attacking Egypt. That's possible. So only if Egypt itself said, yes, we had those slaves, would I trust it. And you might say that's unfair skepticism. Okay, it's unfair skepticism, whatever. I don't trust the narrative. But at any rate, so they probably weren't slaves, but it doesn't matter. So God's like, you get to go free. What did God do to help them go free? Let's not forget that stuff, shall we? Yeah. Supposedly God gave power to this guy to do stuff until they were let go. Let my people go, Pharaoh. Threw frogs at them, threw wasps at them, threw locusts at them, and then finally he's like, the firstborn of everyone, they're dead. They're freaking dead. Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're old. Doesn't matter how old they are. They're just, if you were the firstborn, you're dead. I hope you're the second. It's like, wow. God did that. And then, of course, they put the blood outside their house, and that way God would pass over. Because God doesn't know to kill you or not unless you mark your house. Because God's kind of stupid like that, I guess. Or, well, God sent his spirit of death. And I guess the spirit of death is stupid and can't tell who to pass over without a mark. But anyways, so that's supposedly what happened. What really happened? Goodness knows. Who knows? Maybe there's some truth to it, that the people marked their houses so that the soldiers knew who the people were to not kill. And they were secretly, they spread the word around, put this little thing on your door, because tonight is the night that the soldiers are going to go out and kill as many of these guys as we can. They don't necessarily know where we live, and we don't want to make a big deal of it. Just put this little teeny tiny mark on your door. They'll look for that. They'll know where to see it. Put it here. Everybody whispers that to their, people that are in the know, or people they want to protect, or whatever, And so then the soldiers go around and killing, and then maybe they made the story exaggerated by saying that it was the spirit of God that did it. Don't know. No way to actually know. But regardless, God said to do it, or God in this case did it himself. So God doesn't seem to be above killing people himself. He sent the spirit of death to kill the firstborn. Well, but the spirit of death was unleashed via the guy that God gave that power to, but still it's God. So Canaanites, they're really evil, nasty people. Ooh, okay, God, send your spirit of death among them to kill them. You did it before, right? So what's the problem with doing it now? Well, God got tired. Power levels of God have dropped significantly. He has consumed a lot of mana, and he's just kind of low on mana right now. So he needs to use people to do his work.
Drive out the Canaanites from the land on pain of death. And I am giving this land to you, to Israel. So they were the pre-Israeli inhabitants of this region of the.
Yeah, I love how smart God is here. Hey, I want to give you this really cool land. All right, sounds cool. There's no people there, right? There's no people there, right? There's people there? Yeah. What are we supposed to do about that? Yes. Tell them to move. Tell them to move? All of them? Yeah. Just tell them to move. And tell them I said to do it. Oh, okay. Sure. We'll send a letter. Hey, imagine you're the leader of the Canaanites. You get this letter. Dear Canaanite leader, our God has said that you guys need to move. All of you. Out of your land right now. because God has promised us that land. You're like, well, fuck that. I'm not gonna. What? First of all, what God? What are you talking about? Like, did God come to the Canaanites? Hey, Canaanites, how's it going? I'm God. Just wanted to let you know, this land is not yours. It's actually theirs. So you're gonna have to leave now. Yeah, making a whole entire group of people leave a land in modern days is one of the things that's considered genocide. Now, maybe back then, that's not what they considered genocide. I mean, but they were given fair enough warning to leave by somebody. I don't know if it was God or a soldier or whatever, but they were given time to leave. That's not okay, though. It was theirs. They lived there. That was their land. It's not yours. Why not give us a land that nobody has? It's nobody's there. Make a land. You're freaking God. Make a really good land for them to live in. No. So what really happened? Who knows? But probably they're like, we need to expand. That land looks nice. They have stuff. Let's go there. Hey, there's people there. Fucking kill them. And then we'll just take their land. Yeah. And we'll justify it later. Why are we killing these people? Oh, God promised us this land. Oh, okay, makes sense. Let's kill the people.
The world on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea.
And as you say, the Old Testament makes it clear that God considered these people to be an immoral people, much in the same way that before the flood of Noah, we sort of have this pleading with God of saying, look, are there not any good people amongst this community? Are you really going to flood the entire world? Is there not one person worth saving? And
okay, he's mixing up a couple of different biblical stories there. The flood, only one family was given the choice to live. Nobody else was. There's the town, Sodom and Gomorrah. That's where the whole isn't there anybody good here? If you find one good person, then I'll spare the town. That whole narrative comes from that story. But yeah, hey, look, it's easy to mix up these stories because they all have killing in them. Anyways, I just want to hear Craig defend genocide more.
I have a colleague, Professor Clay Jones, who has done a study of ancient literature coming out of pre-Israelite Canaan. And it is horrific, the culture that is described there. This was one.
Okay, so some dude, Clay, did a study, don't know what he did to do the study, and he was like, hey, yeah, Canaan, those people were totally evil. Uh-huh. Yeah, sure, man. But did you want to conclude that? Oh, he happens to be a Christian, right? Oh, well, I mean, he's motivated to find that they're evil, so of course he found out that they were evil. And like I said, I don't care how evil the people are. That doesn't justify genocide. It doesn't matter how bad they are. It doesn't justify genocide. It doesn't matter. Oh, they're really, really evil. So what? Let them be evil. What are they doing? Are they just doing it to themselves? And apparently it's stuff like, oh, they had child sacrifice. Yeah, so God was perfectly fine with sacrificing children. He told them, kill everybody, including the children. So God doesn't have a problem with that. Oh, they allowed homosexuality. Nothing wrong with homosexuality. Oh, they allowed people to get married to young people. Bible never mentions what age to marry at. Says nothing on it. So what were they doing? Oh, they were worshiping some other god that wasn't the real God. Oh no, how terrible. Yeah, well, people are allowed to worship whatever the belief they want. Or not at all if they don't want to worship. So that's not evil either. It's just stuff that they go, oh, that's yucky. They do that thing. They eat other people. They're cannibals or whatever. Oh, we don't like them. So they're evil. No, they're not. And even if they were evil, again, doesn't matter. Doesn't justify it. The things that go on in North Korea, we all know about that stuff. It's pretty messed up. The people there are pretty much stuck in North Korea. They're not really allowed to leave. Like, you have to get like Uber permission. You have to be up in the ranks to leave, and you're gonna have to come back. You can't just leave and stay gone. You can't just go on vacation. It's not done, and your access to the outside world is pretty much nothing, and your life is very, very controlled by the state. And I don't imagine it's a very good life. I don't know, but it doesn't sound like it would be a lot of fun. You have to, you're constantly worried that you're going to be killed because you said something that was against the state, because you're not allowed to badmouth the state, So it can't be very fun to live there. And they've committed atrocities against their own people more than once. Yet, we don't just march in there and say, well, we're going to wipe out the government and free all these people. We could. We have the military might to do that. But we don't do that for a lot of reasons. But primarily because, well, they're not doing anything to us. So unless they mess with us, we're not going to mess with them. Yeah, what they're doing is wrong, but like it's like, hey, don't do that. We wiggle our finger at them. Hey, don't do that. But that's like the best that we've got politically, I guess. Maybe there's sanctions, yada yada yada. There's peaceful ways, yada, and things to try, and so it's difficult, and yet we don't do mass genocide on the leaders just because. And if we did, the world would be pissed at us. They would not be happy with us. It's like, look, you can't just do that, So to me, again, it doesn't matter that the people are supposedly doing evil. You're justifying that as a reason to do evil against them. So evil begets more evil. No. If anything, it should be love them, care for them, tell them why that's wrong, explain to them what you're doing is wrong, give them alternatives, give them different ways to live, show them a better way of living. How about we ask if we can live there? Maybe we can live together side by side. Maybe they can learn from us. Maybe we can learn from them. Let's cooperate. Let's become part of their society, maybe. And we have the same problems today with border crossings that aren't legal, of the question of, will the person adapt to the society that we have or bring their own society with them? And what's that mean? And it's like the great melting pot of America is we have different ideas that kind of all eventually blend together into one giant idea that hopefully is all the good ideas, but still that's the experiment that we're supposedly running. But you can't run that experiment properly if you don't have a system in place. And so people breaking boundaries to get in mess with the system. But here you've got God saying, well, we don't like, hey, look, Mexico. Yeah, I don't promise Mexico to the Americans. Hey, Americans, go kill everybody in Mexico. It's yours. Okay, we all go and kill Mexico. Everyone there. And then we just own Mexico. That's an atrocity. That's terrible. They were really evil down there. Yeah.
That practice not only all sorts of human sexual aberrations,
oh no,
but also temple prostitution.
Oh, not temple prostitution.
They practice bestiality.
So
there are texts describing how a buck would be strapped down to a wooden frame.
Yeah.
And then women would mount the buck and copulate with
cares?
it. They were engaged in offering child sacrifice to their gods. And so reading these ancient documents that are from pre-Israelite Canaan really bear out the truth of the biblical description of them, though the biblical description doesn't go into that kind of morbid detail that
Yeah, I don't care. doesn't that was their society. That's how they decided to run things. Eventually, they'd probably move on from that. Eventually, they would grow out of those ideas and superstitions over time if given enough time, or the society would fall apart because of those ideas. Child sacrifice doesn't usually last that long, even if it's to a god. We've already seen cultures that had human sacrifice, not just of children, but of usually adults, but it doesn't matter. If they had human sacrifice at all, that society would inevitably collapse. Why? Well, because personal freedoms and livelihood matters, and you're affecting the friends and family of that person that's being sacrificed, even if they're volunteering for that position. And usually nobody volunteers to be sacrificed for that unless you're really, really good at religious indoctrination. But even if you have a person that's willing to do that, that's still going to cause grief to others. It's not sustainable as a society, so eventually it won't work. But this is justifying genocide. It's okay to kill all these people. It's okay to move them out of where they are because you were promised that land. All of that is fine because God said to do it. It's fine. Now, what's interesting is they're really evil, terrible, viable people. But if they all move away, we're going to let them live. Okay, so you're not going to do anything about the evil? You're going to let the evil persist because God's fine with evil existing as long as it's not in the land promised for his people, right? So what exactly was God's plan to do down the road with those people? We moved them out of Israel. Now they're on the borders of Israel, sitting out there kind of mad that we kicked them out. You know, they're kind of mad. They formed a society. They haven't forgotten about them getting kicked out, however many years ago that's been. They're still kind of upset about that. And so they're at our border and they grow in strength and they're still being evil. They're still doing all those things we didn't like. And they're growing in numbers too. What do we do about that? Well, I'm sure it'll be fine. They're not going to come in here and try to How many people do they have now? They have like tens of thousands of people. How many do we have? We have like a couple thousand people. Oh, that's not good. It's called being surrounded. We're surrounded by these evil people who don't like that we kick them out. What was God's plan exactly there? Oh, he didn't have a plan. Right. Because God didn't have a plan because God didn't order that. Because God isn't involved here. There isn't a God to command these people to do these things. It's the people that are doing the things and then saying God told them to do it. But remember, Craig is trying to justify the evil, vile action of God commanding people to do evil, vile things. So he is justifying an evil God. That's what he's doing. And Yahweh is evil. Period. End of story. Yahweh's evil, sick and twisted, perverted, evil God. But that's the God of Christianity. It is. It really is. I'm not going to apologize. That's what it is. You follow a dictator being that is perfectly fine with people stoning to death people, perfectly fine with genociding people, doing whatever the hell he wants to anybody because he made them. He's a sick, narcissistic, evil being. It's not good. There's nothing good about the God of the Bible, but you're told it's good. You never see God doing it good. Well, he made the world. That was good. He made it with flaws included. That's not very good. He made it in a way that he would then have to punish it. That's not very good. He made it in a way where people would have to be tortured eternally for not believing in him. That's pretty bad. What's your plan there, God? God's a moron. God's a nitwit. That's the best argument for God available to the apologist is God is a nitwit. That's why he's doing all these stupid things. Because he's a moron. Oh, okay. So why is God evil? Because he's stupid. Oh, okay. So he's not all good. No, he's just dumb. But what are you going to do? You have to kiss his ass, otherwise he's going to kill you. Well, he's going to torture you forever. That's not good. So you might as well kiss his ass. I don't know about that. I don't want to be under that dictator, but that's the real thing. That's how things are. Well, that's going to suck, I guess, but I'm not going to kiss its ass. And I'm not going to call it good because it isn't good. It's evil. And here's William Lane Craig pretending that God actually commanded people to do evil because the people were evil. So it's fine. Kill them. Kill them all. Yeah, great. I see a comment I'm not going to respond to right now because it has absolutely nothing to do with the video I'm talking about.
These documents do.
I suppose I intuitively find it difficult to believe that there's not a single person in this community who is not so like unsalvageably touched or consumed by sin in this way, that the actions we see the Israelites committing on the command of God can be justified. So to give people an idea, to give them the full picture, we've described who the Canaanites are, and I'm sure you'll have something to say about that. But the reason that this is a problem, the reason why Richard Dawkins is talking about these people, is because, as you say, God promises this land to the Israelites, and he waits 400 years and says this is because the sin sort of hasn't got bad enough yet. Essentially, he says it will happen in 400 years because by that point things will be so bad that this will be worth this will be sort of justifiably inflicted. But he commands the Israelites to destroy the Canaanites, and the language used in the Bible is quite extreme in a few different areas, talking about completely destroying a city, leaving nothing alive that breathes. And on the point about innocent people, because I know you'll have something to say about that, but we know that there are at least some innocent people among the Canaanites, because in the 6th chapter of Joshua, in the destruction of Jericho, it said that they devoted the city to the Lord and destroyed with the sword every living thing in it, men and women, young and old, cattle, sheep, and donkeys. Now,
I really love how evil God is. It's just amazing. It's just, it's chef's kiss. It's just so fantastically evil. It's not enough to kill the people. Kill all the animals. Why kill the animals? What did they do? Seriously, eat the animals. I understand that. Cook them for food, but kill them? Why? Why? Because they were bad. We don't, because they're dirty animals. Because they were around those. Some of those animals might have been fucked by somebody. Can't eat a chicken if somebody fucked it. Why not? Because it's not called Kentucky fucked chicken. It's fried chicken. If they fuck them, that's just wrong. Okay, I guess. I mean, yeah. So they were evil. The animals were evil. Did they kill all the bugs too? Dig up the worms. Kill the worms. Kill all the bugs you find. What about the birds? Did they get the birds? I don't know. It seems like Jesus God, whatever, Yahweh. Hey, you forgot about the birds. What about them? What about the bugs? The bugs are evil. You didn't say to kill the bugs. What about that? What were they supposed to do with the bodies and stuff after they killed them anyways? Did they burn them all? You know? But then we're inhaling the smoke of the evil people and getting it back into us. That's not good. So will we bury them in a mass? Like, how are we to dispose of the evil, vile bodies afterwards? Because that's important. We got to get those bodies way away from us because they're evil, right? Because they made the other things evil by being around. Destroying the buildings, too. Those are evil. Yeah. What about the land itself? Wouldn't the land absorb some evil? Yeah, well, we got to shovel out some of the land, put some good land here from the other places. Well, no. God's blessed the land and made it holy, so the land is fine. I don't know. It's nonsense.
Maybe the men and women were immoral. I certainly don't think that children living among the Canaanites were immoral enough to justify their being killed, and certainly not the cattle, the sheep, and the donkeys.
Right. The difficult, I think, aspect of this is the children. The adults were corrupt. If there was an innocent person among the adults, that person didn't have to be killed. It's important to understand that God's command to Israel was not genocide, despite a superficial first reading of these narratives. More fundamentally, it was a command to drive the Canaanites out of the land on pain of death.
Yeah. It's genocide. This is what that's what you're talking about, Craig. Okay. That's what it is. The deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group. Okay. Now, people move. I forget where the new standard of making people forced displacement. Yeah. Okay. So Cambodian genocide. So there's consideration of genocide is in modern day parlance is also forcing people, a group of people, to move from where they live because you're ruining their livelihood. You know, who wants, like, you get a knock on the door, hey, you have to leave your house now. Why? Well, because this is my house now. Really? It is? That's nice. We have an army here. We will kill you unless you leave. Well, I mean, I guess I'll leave because I kind of want to live, but it's not right. And so, you know, where am I supposed to go? Can I take the stuff with me? Yeah, you can take your stuff, you know. But I'm going to have to rebuild. I'm going to have to build a new house. I'm going to have to find a place to live and settle. And, you know, it's not going to be easy. And it is, for many, going to be a death sentence. And especially back then. They're more nomadic back then than we are today. Though they were pretty much, you know, they had cities and such. But they were still nomadic back in the Bible times, at least to some degree. So you're saying move out of here or die. And they're like, well, we've got everything set up the way we like. And we don't know where do you want us to go? It doesn't matter as long as it's not here. Well, at least build them stuff. Now it'd be it'd be something like God has built you guys a city and flourished it with like farms and animals and stuff. It's all set up. It's really good. We're gonna move you there, and yeah, it's just a different location. How about that? No, okay, just let them figure it out for themselves. Yeah, leave or die. Yeah, that's real good, God. Yeah, that's a real nice choice there. It's not a choice. It's not a choice. Of course not. It's an appeal to the cudgel, appeal to the stick. It is an ad baculum. Or is it Ballium? I think it's baculum. Pretty sure. Ad baculum. Yeah, I was right. Ad baculum. But anyways, yeah, that's what it is. So it's an appeal to force, and God's an asshole. But it's not really God. It's people claiming that it's God. But remember, William Lane Craig thinks it's actually God doing this, and so he's perfectly fine with doing whatever mental gymnastics he does to justify it. One nitwit in chat said, what moral standard? Not God. How about that? Any other moral standard that's actually a standard? Like there's a lot of ethical systems that aren't divine command theory. So any of those is the moral standard. If you have to ask, why is it immoral to genocide people? You are evil. You are the problem. You are the person that joins William Lane Craig in the pedestal of evil. If you think that we need some moral standard to say that genocide is evil, you are evil. Period. What standard? The standard of basic human compassion and kinship that should be shared by all of us, but religion is evil and poisons everything, as Hitchens was so eloquently put it. Where does evil come from? Religion comes from the idea that God has told you what to do or not to do, and that's your ultimate standard of good. Yeah, well, what if it's some other god, like the Lobsterist god? Have you read the Lobsterist? Yeah, it has lots of commands there to follow. Why not think those good are good? Well, because I don't believe in the Lobsterist. Yeah, well, guess what? That's where my morals come from. It's the Lobsterist. It's a god. There you go. So now we're in the same boat. I have a god and you have a god. Well, how are we going to decide whose god is real? My god can eat your god. Yeah, the lobster already ate a god to become a god. So it is a monster that can eat gods. It is a god-eating creation monster. That's what it does. It eats other gods. Doesn't eat itself, obviously, but it can eat any god that you put against it. So it will eat your god, and it probably already has. Your god is dead. The lobster god ate it. Anyways, nonsense I'm not responding to in full coming in my chat. All right, anyways, back to William Lane Craig being evil.
No one had to be killed if these tribes would simply retreat.
Fuck you, Craig. Yeah, I'd love to see what Craig would do. Like, we come to his house, probably a fucking mansion. Let's not joke ourselves around. Yeah, there we all these guns. Hey, Craig, how's it going? Yeah, God told us to leave. You have to leave your house or die, Craig. What are you going to do? Well, I guess I'll leave my house. God said to do it, you know. It's fine to Craig that they were told to leave. They wouldn't be killed if they left. That's still wrong. You're forcing them to leave their home. That's where they live. They put stuff there. They built stuff there. They planted crops. They raised kids there. They have pets and animals that they have there. That's their place. And you're going to come along and say, move or die. Well, that's not a choice. And no, we're not going to move. We're going to fight. Because of course we are. We always do. Now, Native Americans, poor natives, we fucked them over good. We came, we saw, and we're like, we want some of this land. They're like, we don't know. What do you mean land? You don't own anything. What do you mean? Like, and of course, a whole bunch of them died because we brought diseases we didn't know. You know, well, we kind of did. We figured it out, and then polio blankets became a thing. Like, we knew polio, that was contagious. Yeah, germ warfare, perfectly justified back then. And why? Well, it was justified in a number of ways. One, well, they're evil tribe people. They don't believe in God, so we can kill them. It's fine. And secondly, well, we need the land, so it's fine. Only later did we go, maybe we kind of mistreated them a bit, you know. Well, you know. Well, we screwed them over. We came in, kicked their butt, and took their land. Now, unlike the Hebrew Bible, we didn't say that the Indians were evil. Wait, that's not true. We have, for years, said the Indians were evil. In Westerns, every single Western just about has pictured the Indians as the bad guys and the cowboys as the good guys, killing the bad guys. We have justified mistreatment of the Native Americans for a long, long time. I don't like it. I don't know what I'm supposed to do about it. There's nothing I can do about it that I know of. But at least some people have said that the Native Americans were evil and vile people and doing weird things, didn't they? The Puritans. Who were the Puritans? Oh, Christian settlers, of course, using religion to justify genocide. You can leave this land, we're taking it, or we'll kill you. It's fine because it's our land. Who says? Well, God's on our side, so we say. Yeah, Nazis have that on their belt buckle, God with us. Yeah, they thought God was on their side. Yeah. Everyone that conquers somebody else thinks that they're right. Everyone. Everyone thinks that. I'm right because I'm killing you. I can't be wrong. I'm not the bad guy. You're the bad guy. So, pure evil from William Lane Craig. Oh my God, I've been going an hour? I didn't even notice. I guess I'm pissed at Craig. All right, a little bit more and then I'll be done because I can't keep going. It's just too much bullshit to deal with.
And flee in the face of the advancing Israeli army. It was only
Craig.
Those who tried to stay behind.
Only those who tried to stay behind that got killed. Fuck you, Craig.
And resist, who were to be completely exterminated.
Yeah, you're an asshole. Now, I like the part when he says, I want to get to the part where he's like, I can't think of anybody that was actually harmed by these acts, because he fucking says that at one point. Yeah, you can't think of anyone that was hurt by that. the people that were leaving, that were forced to leave at gunpoint, sword point, whatever they had back then, they were fucking harmed by that, asshole. And it's justifying of killing of kids. Oh, that part's golden too. I'd have to edit this video to make it, break it into chunks and, really cover it that way. But I don't know that I want to. I had to say something about it because everybody said something about it. The kids get to go to heaven. Isn't that nice? Yeah. Mommy, daddy. Oh, they're dead. Well, my turn. You're dead. Okay, so mommy and daddy, they were evil. They go to hell. You get to go to heaven, though, because you're fine. Well, that sucks. The kid gets in heaven. Where's mommy and daddy? They're in hell. Why? Because they were evil. It's okay, though. You're good, though. Well, that's sad. No, you don't get to be sad in heaven. Zap. You're happy now. Yay, I'm happy now. I'm no longer me anymore because I'm a version of me that's not sad that my mom and dad are suffering forever. Instead, I'm happy about it because free will doesn't exist in heaven, I guess. Yeah. All right, Craig. I didn't get to that part. I'm not playing the clip. I don't know when he says it. I don't care anymore. I'm done. Okay, so this is fucking the baby's Pascal's wager, but with any age that is under the age of accountability. Okay, if you believe in the age of accountability, and many people do, I guess William Lane Craig is one of them, then you believe that at some magical age, humans become accountable for the sins that they have inherited, let alone have done. Okay, so if they die or are killed before that point, they go straight to heaven. Oh, isn't that nice? So all the abortions, all those babies are going to heaven, which is good. Heaven is a good place. Now, we're told, don't murder people. God doesn't want you to do that. But I don't care. I'm an atheist. So some Christians believe, some theists, not just Christians, but some people believe that birth is the start of life. So maybe you believe that. If you're a believer and you're listening to what I'm saying right now, got a couple presuppers in here trying to weasel in their stuff that I'm not dealing with in chat because no, I already dealt with presup. I'm done with that. I'm not going to play your guys' game. Anyways, but if you're still here, if you believe that life starts at the moment that the egg and sperm touch each other, that's life, right? So here's what I propose. And I think that I should get some funding to make it real. And I'll explain it. It's very simple. I'll run it. I'm an atheist. I don't care. I'll run the facility. And what we're going to do is we're going to get eggs and sperm. Volunteers will send us their eggs and their sperm. Now, eggs are harder to get than sperm. We might need some sort of way to monetize this operation. I don't know. It's going to have to get funding. But regardless, we get eggs and sperm. We have them fertilized. The machine does it real fast. It's just fertilizing eggs like crazy. Like, I don't know, 1 egg a second or whatever, right? We can process 1,000 births a second. Pretty efficient, Then, immediately, as soon as we're convinced that that thing is starting to be alive, boom, we kill it. We smash it with a hydraulic press or blast it with fire or zap it with electricity or whatever the hell we want to do with it. I don't know. Stomp it on the ground. I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter as long as it's fucking dead. Because that thing that's alive goes straight to heaven, which is really good for it. So in mass quantities, we are creating souls to send directly to heaven. That would be the ultimate good that we could possibly hope to do as humans. And I will run it. And it won't be murder. So it won't be illegal. It will be legal. And what possible objection could you have to me doing that? Well, but God doesn't want you to do that. Where does it say in the Bible not to do that? Doesn't. I'm an atheist. I don't fucking care what you think God says. I'm sending these people to heaven. That has to be good. Period. I'm doing evil, but I'm promoting more good in the end? Well, but God doesn't want you to do that. How do you know? It doesn't say in the Bible. It doesn't cover that scenario in the Bible. So guess what? I've come up with a thing that is really, really, really good to do. So are we going to do it? Are you going to fund it? No, you're not. Why? Because it is evil. Why do you know that? Even though it's not in the fucking Bible, you know it's evil. Why? It's not in the Bible, but somehow you believe or know or intuit that it's evil. How could you do that if it's not in the Bible? Think about it for a moment. Think. How do you know that something is evil when it hasn't been explicitly explained to you in your fucking holy book? Because you have compassion. Humans have compassion. We care about each other. That's why we debate ethics all the time. And we don't know. It's like, is your ethics good? Is your ethics good? And it's a complicated mess, and we wind up killing each other over it. And what makes that impossible is if you dare to stand there at the negotiation table, fold your arms and say, my God doesn't debate. Well, guess what? You're the first one to die then, because we don't have any choice other than to kill you or imprison you, because we can't fucking negotiate with you because you're right and everyone else is wrong. So fuck you. Get the hell out of here. How about that? That's the problem with DCT. And I'm pissed off and tired of it. I'm sick of it. I'm very sick of it. And I'm sick and tired of religious idiots promoting that bullshit as if it's good. Fuck William Lane Craig. He's evil, vile, despicable human being. And I won't miss him when he walks off this mortal coil. Deacon for the Man got angry, and I'm not apologizing for that anger. And what's my moral standard? My moral standard is that life matters, and doing evil is unnecessary killing of life, which certainly happened in the fucking Bible, because God supposedly has all this power. How about fucking teleport them somewhere else? How about that? Teleport all those Canaanites to a different planet that's identical to this planet, where they can live exactly as they've been living on that spot of land from their perspective, and then give that land to your chosen people. How about that, God? Why didn't he do that? Because God doesn't fucking exist. That's why. Mic drop. End of story. Or if God does exist, it's evil and or incompetent. Which again brings me back to my favorite argument for God. Premise one, God is a nitwit. That's it. You don't need any other premises. God's a nitwit. That explains everything. God is an idiot, and that's why it allows evil, pain, suffering, etc., because God is a moron. There you go. Turek is more insufferable than William Lane Craig. They're both... No, William Lane Craig's evil. I mean, he's defending genocide here. And then, of course, later, I think he even goes, well, it's not really genocide. Fuck you, Craig. But what makes somebody do these mental gymnastics? Because he believes that God said to do it, so it must be good, even though there's no way for him to really agree that it is good. Because God said it, that makes it okay. And then later in the interview, the guy asks him, well, what today if somebody thinks that God told them to kill their kid, that's happened before. One woman killed their kid, a bunch of their kids. It's happened more than once. And he's like, I'm not interested in how you know if God says to do that. But dude, that's important. Well, they're probably insane if they were told today. Oh, that's interesting. And why weren't they insane back then, Craig? Why weren't they crazy back then when they thought God was doing it? Interesting. How would they know it was really God? Craig doesn't give us that answer. He's not interested in giving us that answer, probably because he doesn't have a fucking answer to that question. Because there'd be no way to know that it was God or that you're just crazy. And if you think it's immoral to do, and you think God is telling you to do it, don't fucking do it. Assume that you're crazy. It's probably the right option. If you have voices in your head, you've probably lost your mind to some degree that aren't your own voice, that are telling you to do stuff that you wouldn't normally want to do. So yeah, he was nuts. Just like those people in the past were insane if they really thought God was telling them to do it. The problem is they went ahead and did it, and because they were in charge, nobody said that they were insane. And then somebody wrote a book based on what they did, I guess. God, if it exists, wouldn't tell you to do something evil. So if you believe that God's telling you to kill someone, hurt yourself, harm others, cause destruction, it's not really God. And well, what if I think God's telling me to do good things? That's a problem too, because it's probably not God. It's probably your brain has gone bonkers and you need help. And we should assume that. We should always assume that. But the believer is more prone to believing that they're sane because religion tells them that God can talk to people. And so we live with the potential risk of anyone doing anything and justifying it by saying that God told them to do it. And for the religious, there's no real way for them to say that God didn't say it. They can say they're insane. Great. But how do we know that? We don't have a system. That kind of stupid, isn't it? That was God that set that up. Or the actual reality is there isn't a God and that people are insane. But they justify it with God, which makes it that they can't be questioned anymore. But thank goodness we don't care. We lock them up anyways. And maybe they are insane mentally and they need to be treated for that. There was a guy I read about a story. This guy went to jail because he looked at certain images online. He downloaded them and stuff. He didn't actually hurt anyone physically himself, but he looked at stuff he wasn't supposed to have. You know what I'm saying? And he went to jail for it. And he complained about a headache. He went and they gave him they gave him a CAT scan and they found a tumor in his head. They took out the tumor and he didn't want to look at that. He was repulsed by that he'd ever done that. And he were like, yeah, the psychologists were like, he did what he did because of that tumor was pushing against his brain. And they're like, yeah, you're a free man. It wasn't your fault. You didn't want to do that. And I think as we discover and understand more about our brain and see that injury and chemicals can affect our behavior, more people will be treated for those things. And maybe we'll figure out a way to prevent that from happening, and we'll have less crime out there as a result, because we humans will figure out how to fix our brains. God, if it exists, isn't doing diddly squat. Oh, you're playing God. Yeah, well, someone has to, because it's not doing diddly squat. Your God's a nitwit. It might as well not exist. We're here. We're going to try to fix things. Stand out of our way. Keep your beliefs to yourself. I don't need them. All right. I think I said everything. Well, I've said everything I want to say about this. William Lane Craig is evil in my book, in my view. And if you need me to justify it, then you're evil. And yeah, that's a fallacy, by the way. No, if you don't think that William Lane Craig is evil, fine, great, wonderful. That's nice. I don't want to be around you, but you're welcome to your view. But let me know so I know to not be around you. Okay? Most of the people that I know and like, they probably would agree with me that he's pretty damn evil. Or at least he's evil in that he's, defending this thing. However you want to put it. And if not, great. Present a valid and sound argument. I fucking dare you. Or give me empirical evidence or a repeatable test, because until then I'm going to be fucking skeptical about it. And I'm worn out. Okay, I wore myself out. Whew. Man, that was a good rant. I had a good rant. All right, thanks for watching and listening and commenting in the actual video when this is a video. Please comment. And I'll cover some other idiot also justifying stupid things that God does or allows to happen next time. on Deconverted Man. Stay tuned for that, unless I do some other video before then, which is always possible because you never know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something. I'm not going to do something evil, at least. I'm going to do something that I hope is good, and hopefully this is good. No, don't hit the button. No, I'm not done talking. No, wait.